leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Saying that you're the best, you gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy, is you real or what? Talking way too much, world combat sports. Talking way too much, world combat sports. Talking way too much, world combat sports.
Shout out to the hottest chat in the MF game. A-Side official. No negotiations needed, period. You already know we back in the building. Let's get down to it. Shout out to everyone that's in the chat, man. Mike in the building. BG on deck in the building. OG Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more in the building. Stickin' Boys, Fishing and Sports. What's good, man? I see you in the building. I mean, which one? Which one? What's the title? Because I probably may have not seen it yet, but I am going to be, going through some audio. So Timothy Bradley has a lot that's out here that's talking about, one of the pieces was, what his take is on Crawford, but not let Canelo hit him and all that. But I don't know which one you're talking about. You can do me a favor and drop the link in there or something like that. I appreciate it, big dog. But I really don't know which video you're talking about. He has so many that's out there. If you can drop that whenever you get a chance, I appreciate it. So everybody else is in the chat. You here for the first time. Appreciate you pulling up. Okay, hold up for a second. So let me check this out. What you're talking about. Oh, he talking about Canelo. Okay. I will probably, take a peek at it. It's 13 minutes. It's not that long. Once again, shout out to BG, man. Always coming in with the payload on the back. That's, shout out to the hottest chat in the MF game. Thanks for y'all, dropping the links and, keeping the brother updated. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't be tuned in to boxing all the time like I used to. I'm looking at these BJJ tournaments and everything. But yeah, one love to you, man. Appreciate you. So this is the Hot Grease Chronicles EP 485. Yeah, we still on the march towards September. And recently, September 13 to be exact. So recently there was an interview that came out where, they're doing the promo. You had Crawford, you had Canelo, and I liked it. Had Shaquille O'Neal up there. You had Tom Brady. You had Dana White. You got a bunch of goats up there, man. You got a bunch of goats up there for real. So, it was just a conversational piece that I like. Within that conversational piece, elite has been thrown around. I'm glad we're talking about a word that has significance. Elite has significance because depending on who you ask and then their qualifications to even speak on the word, it becomes extremely interesting. I'm not going to lie to you. It does. It becomes extremely interesting because you hear some people, you just flooded with opinionated bias. This is not based off facts, just opinionated bias. I get it. But then you have some that will take the elite status and they try to break it down like you're supposed to. Criteria versus criteria. You dissect it. You know what I'm saying? You go as deep as your analytic scope will allow you to go. So, Canelo, well, let me just play and let you hear for yourself. Okay? And we're gonna touch on it.
I say before, he's a great fighter. But if you look at his career, mention one elite fighter. Just mention me one elite fighter.
So Postal wasn't elite?
Who?
Victor Postal.
Who's that guy?
Oh, so he wasn't commercialized. He wasn't a great. Ricky Burns wasn't elite.
What? 40 years old champion in that moment beat Mr. Postal in my gym. I saw that.
So Ricky Burns wasn't elite.
Ricky Burns doesn't elite.
Okay.
He's not elite.
It's cool.
Is there a champion?
I'm going to fight another elite.
There is a champions, good fighters, but elite fighters is different. Wait.
So I'm going to fight an elite fighter in September.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we're
going to find out.
Then we're going to find out.
And don't get me wrong. You're a great fighter.
I know I'm great.
You're a great fighter. But are you going to...
He said, I know I'm great. You don't have to tell me. Back to Canelo's point, though. Canelo took it upon himself to say, well, look at it this way. Who you believe and think that's elite on your resume, Crawford, I don't think is elite. And you have to look at, Ricky Burns, multi-time champion. You have to consider him to be elite. And one thing I did like what Crawford said was commercialized. When he fought Victor Postal was 28-0. He was undefeated. These undefeated records up to a certain point have to be respected. They have to be respected. The way Canelo is talking about is the same thing with Manny Pacquiao. But just because he's seen him get beat, we seen you get beat too. We seen you get dominated by Dimitri Bivol. We seen you get dominated by Floyd Mayweather. So no one's talking about Floyd is not elite. You wasn't even elite when you freaking fought Floyd Mayweather. You was hoping, wishing, and praying that the little skill sets that you have remediated and learned, it was going to be enough for you at your young age to go in there and beat or defeat an older Mayweather. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. We have to be honest to a point. Integrity that boxing has. To just stop being impulsive and shutting down people's resume, because we have to give credit on Victor Postal being a dog. Victor Postal was a dog, man. Undefeated, and you have to look at how he went about his career. Now, just because he wasn't a popular name, guess what? They said the same thing about Crawford too. They said the same thing about Crawford. Crawford can't sell tickets. He's not mainstream. He don't like talking to media. But yet his hands was talking to his opponents. Don't like talking to media, but his hands like talking to his opponents. All the way up to Victor Postal facing Terrence Crawford. The man was undefeated. He was undefeated. Then when he stepped in there with Crawford, at that point in time, Crawford being at 140, and that was a championship fight. And Victor Postal was a WBC super lightweight champion. He had beaten Lucas Matisse and stopped him in the 10th round. Crawford goes in here and fight Victor Postal in Victor Postal's first defense. And he drops Postal twice in round 5. And then there's some extra collateral points that was deducted. But for Canelo to have the audacity to say that who is that? It sounds good. It happens in boxing. I ain't mad at it. Things like that happen. The trash talking and everything, it happens. Real talk. But when these boxers are when they initially are presented to a fighter, that's when they're still somewhat unblemished. I'm talking about even with one loss, they're unblemished and they're in the ranking systems, they're champions. Why are we highlighting championship belts in one instance? And then depending on who the fighter is, they can be a champion like Postal was, stepping in there with Crawford. But yet they say, who is that? He's not elite, but he had a belt though. And regardless of him fighting for a vacant, Canelo has. Guess who was the first franchise champion? Canelo Alvarez. He was the first franchise champion at 160, a belt that said you don't have to face your mandatories. And if you lose, there's no way for you to lose the belt. That was the rules when Canelo got the franchise belt. That was the rules. You cannot lose the belt. That's what Mauricio Suleiman was saying. We was like, huh? What are you talking about? You don't have to face your mandatories. And if you lose, the belt doesn't go anywhere. What's the purpose of having the belt? Strictly for benefit. Strictly for favoritism. Preference. Preferential treatment. That means you don't have to face your mandatories. And who would have been Canelo's dang opponent if he would have not got that franchise? It would have been his mandatory Jamal Charlo, wouldn't it? So Canelo was the first franchise champion in boxing. Why? Why did you even need to be that if you are one of these guys who consider yourselves to be on a whole nother throne? Now back to the topic. Canelo talks about who with Ricky Burns and Victor Postal. Okay. I've heard certain individuals speak about Crawford dropping the ball. But Crawford's not a content creator. He's a boxer. For him to go tit for tat, it's a time and a place to go tit for tat, talking about what's elite and what isn't. Now, I do want to show you this though. All right. Let me finish with the audio right quick and let you hear the rest, and then I want to show you something.
Find out. I hope your uncle Turki Alashi pay you enough money because it's gonna be the last. That's
it
for
may
sure.
be. It may be. Maybe.
I hope he pay you enough.
See, some people didn't know. You know, they try to say Crawford's feeling unsure about himself because he said it may be, and all that. I didn't read too much into it. You know, he can say it may be for him walking off into the sunset after he get this victory. I mean, you should expect, fight fans, for both fighters to be cross-talking. You should expect that. This is a huge fight. They have to promote it. Look at everybody else. They're on the top level. You know what I'm saying? People be bragging down here in the rooftop. You wouldn't be telling, yeah, I only go out to rooftop restaurants. Rooftop. That's all I do. Rooftop. Even in the rain. Yeah, even in the rain, I do rooftops. You know, people down here be bragging about going out to eat and doing rooftop. Well, they on the rooftop, man. You know, close to heaven, I guess. And you have a room full of important people. So, you know, them exchanging outside of him walking into Canelo and the shoving happened to trash talking. I'm glad Canelo talking trash, man, because I need for his fans to continue to stay amped up and motivated and come out and talk their trash. We need that. We just don't want it to be one-sided like we've seen with Munguia, Edgar Berlanga, Mel Charlo, John Ryder, Gennady Golovkin. I mean, we've seen all this. No, this is a different type of fight.
But you know, after fighters fight me, they never the same. So I just hope your career continue.
If you look at my career, never the same after me. Never the same.
But if you had Canelo's resume, you think they would consider you an all-time great?
Canelo got a great resume. You know, I'm not going to take it away from him. He's fought a lot of great champions. But, you know, at the age that he fought him in, you know.
Okay. Crawford's talking about that the age that he fought him in. Now, this can be up to questioning, too. Understand what Combat is explaining to you. Yes, there's a lot of numbers You know, when you look at Canelo's resume, he has over 65 professional fights. There's a lot of numbers when it comes to his opposition, but a lot of those names on his resume aren't elite. Regardless of what people are trying to boost them up, you know, trying to bring in common opponents and all that, Canelo has fighters on there that were champions. And this is my lead up. He does have a lot of names on his resume that was champions, but he fought them when many of us will consider them to be past their prime. We cannot say we just gonna overlook Canelo dog and postal out for him being beat up by a guy when he was an older age. But yet and still, the same thing Canelo can say about some of the fights on his resume when he fought them when they was past their competitive edge. So you want to take one name out the bunch of Crawford's resume and say you seen him at that time. What does that have to do with when Crawford beat him? Crawford beat him 28-0. That's when Crawford defeated him. We have to look at what happened. How old were they? You know, what was their prime tag at that point in time? Was it still glowing? Was it still registering? Like they were still, you know, competitive in the sport of boxing? Or were they over the hill and they've taken some losses and all that? We know one name they love to bring up because, you know, you look at Floyd Mayweather being a common opponent. You know, Sugar Shane Mosley and Canelo Alvarez, right? And they always talk about how Sugar Shane Mosley, you know, hurt Floyd Mayweather. But when Canelo fought Sugar Shane, everybody knows he was past his competitive edge, and he was coming off 2 losses and a split decision draw. No one really want to talk about that. Let's talk about another one. Matter of fact, let me bring up right quick. Let me share screen with you. Let me take this thumbnail down. Okay, so this is Canelo Alvarez, right? This is his resume. We're not going through his whole resume, but we're talking about elite status. Elite status. Okay, elite status. And of course, this would not be pertaining to his entire resume. Okay, so I know it's some people that's listening and all that. They're gonna be feeling some type of way because, hey man, you saying Canelo he ain't elite? That's a lie. I'm not saying he's not elite. He is elite. Of course he's elite. But I'm speaking about the dynamics for which people are using a metric that is flawed. There's some serious discrepancies in basically naming these names on Canelo resume at the time that he fought him outside of what they accomplished in their entire career. That is the proper way to do it. You consider collectively these fighters' achievements encompassing their career, not based off when they over the hill. If that's the case, why is Manny Pacquiao coming back to fight Barrios and people not saying a peep? People not saying nothing. They want to talk about Floyd Mayweather stalled out Manny Pacquiao until he was old. Floyd was older than Manny Pacquiao when they fought. That's wild. But anyway, 63-2, 39 knockouts. Hot grease, bro. So we're going to skip past William Skull, not elite. Berlanga, not elite. Munguia, drug cheat. Charlo, I'm going to say undisputed. Charlo within the 154-pound division. When you talk about the elite status with him 154, yes, he was undefeated. I mean, he was undisputed, but he also was moving up 2 weight divisions. Elite has to have some specific criteria. And that criteria, I don't know what it is. All I can say is based off my observation and how long I've been, covering boxing, like a lot of you in the chat, elite is definitely going to have some different, it's going to have a huge index on how people view elite. But in this particular case, we're talking about fighters that was on Canelo's level, supposedly, that he defeated. He definitively defeated them. John Ryder, he's not elite. Gennady Golovkin, here we go. This was the trilogy Gennady Golovkin. So since he waited almost 6 to 7 fights after the rematch to fight Gennady Golovkin and it went to a decision, does that mean Golovkin is not elite? No, it doesn't. Because that was Gennady Golovkin's first fight above 160. So you're going to try to tell me it's okay to listen to him talk about one fighter on Crawford's resume and then say, well, I've seen a guy do this, that to him. Okay. But Gennady Golovkin, why did you give him a trilogy? Who knows? Dmitry Bivol, you moved up 175, second time, after becoming champion facing Sergey Kovalev. You move up there to face Dmitry Bivol. He is now an undisputed champion. Okay? You didn't defeat him. We're not talking about the attempt. We're not talking about the attempt. You're not getting participation points. We're talking about you defeating elite fighters, not stepping in the ring with them. He didn't fight. He didn't defeat Dmitry Bivol. Okay? Am I right or wrong? He didn't defeat him. Let's keep going. Caleb Plant. Yes, you beat Caleb Plant. He was an IBF champion at the point of time. Depending on who you ask, was he considered elite? You know what I'm saying? He's a 168-pound IBF world champion. Once again, me, myself, I just told you, we can't discount the belts. We can't discount the belts. Yeah, we're going to have champions that many people consider not to be elite. But when you talk about, let's just say the lower level of definition, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to elite, the default, if you was a champion, you hit the elite status. Okay, point blank period. I'm just gonna put it out there. The default elite tag would be if you became a champion, you consider elite. But this case for Canelo, we're talking about the higher elites. We're talking about the upper tier elite status. Caleb Plant wasn't that guy. You know, he really didn't have a crazy resume based off Jose Ukostegi, you know, at that time. Moving on, Billy Joe Saunders, same thing. Billy Joe Saunders, yes, he was a champion. Yes, he was a part of the Canelo undisputed run the first time. He was an active, seated, reigning campaigning champion. But did they consider him to be the higher elite, the top tier elite? Depending on who you ask, depending on who wants to, whatever. Anthony Yildirim, no. Callum Smith, no one considered Callum Smith the elite, but he was a champion. He was a champion, y'all. Callum Smith was a champion. Also, with this fight, they went on and did what they had to do to make the fight happen so Canelo can start his undisputed reign without David Benavidez. It's not his fault David Benavidez, fumbled the belt, but we're talking about the highest of the high. Sergey Kovalev, he was a champion, but he was past his prime competitive edge. You know what I'm saying? Daniel Jacobs is considered an elite fighter up to a certain point. He can be considered competitive, but a fighter who this don't have nothing to do with him beating cancer. We're talking about him stepping in there with names such as, the Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin, the Triple G brother, and not getting it done. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking about whoever else he faced. Rocky Fielding, no. We're gonna go past Gennady, the 1 and 2. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Yeah, he has a lot of fights, but is he considered elite on the top tier? A lot of people are gonna say no. I'm just saying. Liam Smith, is he considered top tier elite? If so, when Canelo Alvarez went in there and stopped him in the 9th round when he was 23 and 0? You have to ask yourself. Amir Khan had already been knocked out by DSG and Prescott, right? I believe. Was Amir Khan considered elite? Even though there was certain fights that Canelo was in where he was simply losing, Amir Khan was having his way with Canelo Alvarez. We're talking about elite status now. We're talking about elite status. Sergey Kovalev was landing, pretty good shots on. It's just comes to an assessment where, yes, he was in there with some names, and those names are champions. A lot of names that people consider him to have elite names on his resume were champions. But if we're going to say they was champions and we're going to boost them up with a higher FICO score just because Canelo is the fighter that fought them, then we can't go over here and just dilute fought and say who. We just can't say who, because Amir Khan, we all know that he was laid out viciously before he stepped in there with Canelo Alvarez, who stopped him in 6 rounds. He was laid out viciously, bro. What about Miguel Cotto? When Canelo Alvarez fought him, he already had 4 losses. Was this before or after the Margarito fight? I mean, you got to ask yourself. What about James Kirkland? Do he get any credit for that? Because James Kirkland had already been knocked out prior to stepping in the ring with Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, this James Kirkland right here. Canelo wasn't the first one to knock him out. You know what I'm saying? That one loss you see on this record, he had already been knocked out. And they knocked out James Kirkland in the 1st round. Canelo knocked him out in 3. I'm just saying, if you really want to be technical about it. Now, this is what gets interesting to me, Erislandy Lara. Y'all remember this name, right? Erislandy Lara is one of those fighters that really get high praise, exalted. Why? Because they consider him to still be sustainable right now when it comes to his competitive tag. They still consider Erislandy Lara to be still kicking. But a lot of boxing fans would say that Canelo lost that fight against Lara. I'm an advocate of telling people to go look at their record, because they want to just say, hey, he really lost that. But what does BoxRec say? That means I've been known to say that. In this case, I wouldn't be surprised if, Canelo fans say, go look at BoxRec. Oh, you already own it. But what does it say right there? A split decision, what? Green, win to Canelo. A lot of people, including myself, thought Canelo lost this fight. But we have to, because this is the main guy, 31 and 3, never been stopped, 19 knockouts. But you have to look at this also. He lost to Jared Hurd, right? He lost to Saul Canelo Alvarez. He had the draw. He fought Martirosyan twice, I think. Then Paul Williams comes into play. Depending on who you talk to, they give Paul Williams one of those very lethal, dangerous fighters. But Erislandy Lara lost to Paul Williams, who tragically, even though he survived, it was said that if he wouldn't have had the accident, he was set to fight Canelo Alvarez. This is a guy who beat Erislandy Lara in a majority decision. The scores was close, but Paul Williams beat him. When it comes to Canelo, they thought that he lost against Lara. Lara get high praise for a fight that doesn't register on his BoxRec in green. But we want to talk about elite fighters. We consider Erislandy Lara elite. A lot of people are going to consider him elite because he's still sustaining. Look, it gets a little crazy. Okay. This is Canelo's resume. I mean, this is Laura's resume. We don't have too many other names out here on Laura's resume. We can't bring in Castano. Even though Castano is 15-0, he would later go on to be a champ. We can't really bring him into it. See, you look at Laura's resume and you say, okay, do we add Cornflake in there? Does Cornflake get some milk? You know what I'm saying? Does Cornflake get some milk in this case? We really don't care. So he has minimal elite victories, him being Arislandi Lara, that people can relate to. Nobody cares about the DSG when they fought. You know, that'd be a perfect example if DSG would have did more at 147 and people consider him to be elite, but most people want to stick to 140, what he did at 140. But truth be told, Lara doesn't have a deep aquatic resume when people select to try to high dive into these damn boxing debates to prove that Canelo has all these elite fighters. I mean, Arislandi Lara, yes, he has the win over, certain big names, as you see right here. But I mean, he also lost to some big names. When Jarrett Hurd was unified champion, yeah, he lost that fight. Split decision. We can't sit up here and say, well, it was a split decision. No, Jarrett Hurd beat Arislandi Lara. And then you got Alvarez, and then you got Paul Williams. But a lot of people use Lara, respect to Lara. He is sustainable. Okay? Nobody brings up Alfredo Angulo, all right? But depending on who you talk to, people say, oh, man, he's a warrior. He's this, that, and the other. But then they'll talk about, well, how did he look against James Kirkland, who Canelo knocked out viciously? What about this guy? We all know this guy, Floyd Mayweather Jr., right? Floyd Mayweather is an elite fighter on the highest tier. But Canelo lost to him. He lost. Period. What about Austin Trout? Respect Austin Trout. Very slick, elusive, technically sound, connoisseur of the sweet signs. Canelo beat him when he was 26-0. But then you have to look at and do comparisons to Austin Trout to see what makes him great. Is there any opponents that he beat consistently that we are touting as some of the best out there at that time? But Austin Trout is a respectable elite fighter. That a lot of people didn't want to fight. What about the Josecito Lopez? You know what I'm saying? Shane Mosley, like I mentioned earlier, Kermit Cintron. Canelo does not have a deep resume when it comes to elite, high status fighters, the top tier elite. He does have elite names on there due to them, being champions at one point in time. But when you talk about when the conversation come up, when he's getting close to the Hall of Fame, and they want to go back and do a epilogue on freaking Canelo Alvarez, who are they going to talk about like they do with Leonard Hearns? You know how that name, just flows off your tongue? Leonard Hearns. Hagler. These names just, when you throw the Durans in there, it just roll off your tongue easy, right? What are they going to say? Canelo Triple G. Canelo Triple G. Who else are they going to bring into the equation that he defeated? Not a fighter that beat him, that he himself defeated. His is just as shallow as those who are basically grading Crawford's resume. Crawford's resume, a lot of people wants to look at it and do their best to muddy the waters because just because they feel some type of way about him. But when it comes to Canelo, Canelo has the ambience, his aura, where people will automatically give him the check mark based off what he's accomplished in the sport. That has been a lot. But if you go into the technical aspect of elite fighters that he has beat, I'm talking about beat definitively, it's not that many. Now, for Crawford, people are going to say right off the bat, I asked around, I said, do you consider Errol Spence to be elite? Absolutely. That's what they say. And Errol Spence being a unified champion at 147, the default elite status, yes. Top tier elite, we're talking about top tier elite now. We also have to include at that point in time, Errol Spence was on the pound for pound list. That's just one of the many criteria that should be implemented or applicable when you having a conversation about elite fighters. It should be technical. It has to be more than one phase of definition, a layer of definition. You just can't have one definition for elite. You just can't do that with boxing. I'm gonna be honest with you. You just can't do it. Boxing is too technical when you're placing a tag on fighters, and it comes down to you proving why you're saying what you're saying. Canelo has a lot of fights in Mexico. I think like a little over 30. And if you look up here at his numbers, the man has a total of 67 bouts. 30 of those being in Mexico, which a lot of them consider them to be Stromboli cans. But the elite status fighters of Canelo Alvarez that he beat, I'm talking about the elite that was on his level, not moving up 2 divisions. Not fighters that was in his division and wasn't elite. Not just fighters who may have been a champion. That's what we're talking about, elite status fighters. He doesn't have a huge number like people want to give him credit. They just want to wave their hand. Get out of here, man. He was elite. I never said he wasn't elite. We're basically having a small argument about what he said to Crawford. He said, who's elite? And then when Crawford gave him a name, which he shouldn't have been debate to me. He said, who? So if to Canelo's analogy, and you guys out there that love debating all the time, remember, Canelo brought up a later incident when the fighter was past his prime. But how dare we bring up what we seen in there with Bivol? Because when Canelo fought Mayweather, he was young, and he let the older Mayweather beat him up. Then he goes in there and fight a guy at a higher weight class in Bivol, and Bivol beats him up. He gets the best of him. So you really have to, break down your analysis many different ways. You have the default elite status. I believe you pick up a title. I'm talking about one of the main titles. If it's fighting for a vacant or whatever, not okay. Let's just say you can't be considered elite if you up here, stripping somebody of their freaking title. You didn't fight nobody for it, but you was the interim, or and everything, and you was elevated. You have to do a little bit more than just receiving that title via FedEx. But the default is those individuals that became champions, in my opinion, became champions, and they fought somebody for it, but they may not have been able to propel themselves off the momentum of their championship and continue to collect belts or, accolades or anything dealing with the awards that they give these fighters. Them unifying or them going in to fight another champion or former champion, and they defeat them. Anything to continue to raise their FICO score is just a lot of information to addition, based off research and discovery. It's just a lot that's out there when it comes to boxing. Now, Ricky Burns and Victor Postal, Didn't get the nod from Canelo, but it's a lot of who's on Canelo Alvarez resume. When you want to talk about some people saying it don't matter. Why it doesn't matter? Oh, because they fought this fighter. Well, the fighter that you're talking about, did we consider them to be elite? Like I was having a conversation with some boxing heads, and I said, well, okay, is Errol Spence elite? They say, yeah. Is Sean Porter elite? Yeah, of course he is. Why? Because he fought all the big names, right? So yes, he was a two-time champion, but they turn around and say Sean Porter fought all the big names. Sean Porter also lost to a lot of the big names. But yet these people still want to give Sean Porter the likable tag. He's likable. We like Sean. He came in there all the time and just gave it his all. Go, Porky. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're not giving participation trophies, like the little 2-inch trophy. We're talking about someone having a great moment, and they continue to pile on. They continue to addition those accolades with more great moments. And in the sport of boxing, it's just very, very difficult to make these fans happy. But when you hear boxers trash talking, I don't take it personal. If Canelo wanna dilute and devalue, what he believes Crawford's freaking resume consists of, with those names that we mention all the time in a debate, then so be it. But depending on who and how thorough and educated they are, you can do the same for Canelo's resume. And one word I don't use, but I've heard other people said that Canelo has a lot of bums on his resume. He has a lot of bums, but he's going to get credit for fighting certain names that are very pretty much populated in boxing commercially, that Canelo stepped in the ring with. And a lot of these cats do not ask questions as to what age was they, how many losses did they have, and then when you tell them, oh, so and so guy was defeated by this person, that person, you know what they say? They turn back around. All the greats has it. All the greats lost. You're right. All the greats, at one point in time, did have a loss. But I'm just putting it out there, how you can have certain people and you can just watch how the pendulum swings, and the energy that's behind that pendulum too. Like some of these boxing fans, they get very disgruntled when you start to try to break down. Like, it's not a competition for me. I figured this out a long time ago, that when you debate boxing topics, it can become the most intensive, labor-intensive behavior that you can participate in for free. It can become extremely labor-intensive that you can participate in for free. That means you can give people their free time to try to convince someone who may not have put in the work that you put in, may have not did the research that you did, but just the whole point of just putting in work to be able to have an argument, a debate. And that particular person that may not have did the depth of research that you did, they may be a little bit too carefree for you. They might be nonchalant and say, I don't care about none of that, what you're talking about. Me, here's my preferences. Here's my criteria. I don't care about all that other stuff you're talking about. And then before you know it, man, you got an all-out war. You have an emotional war because people up here saying, Canelo, how can you say Bivol? I did not say Bivol wasn't elite. I'm just saying, for Canelo to have some credit, okay, for him to get credit for Bivol, it would have been nice for him to defeat Bivol. But see, there's a different age group when it comes to Sergey Kovalev and then Dmitry Bivol when Canelo Alvarez beat him. I mean, even for Canelo Alvarez, of course, he was a little bit, younger when he fought Kovalev. That's not an excuse. He chose to go out there and fight Bivol for whatever reason. So be it. But also, Canelo had the opportunity to run it back. Right? He ran it back with Triple G, but he didn't run it back with Laura. He ran it back with Triple G, but he didn't run it back with Bivol. He didn't run it back with Floyd Mayweather. Those big names that he danced with, if he would have beat Floyd Mayweather, we're talking about a whole nother level. Like a whole entire different boxing stratosphere. If Canelo would have beat Floyd, oh my God, you wouldn't be able to even touch him. Everywhere Canelo goes, he would have been glowing. You think those platform shoes, he wouldn't have needed those because Canelo would have walked in the building and the energy, the aura of him being Floyd Mayweather, he would have been levitating off of the surface, yo. You know how they talk about, walking on water? Canelo wouldn't have had to use those shoes. He would have just been able to walk in the room and levitate. Floyd would have did it. Floyd would have did it. If you would have inserted Floyd and changed the color from red to green on Canelo's resume, we wouldn't even be having this discussion with Bud Crawford. And look, Crawford probably wouldn't even get a fight with Canelo Alvarez. He wouldn't even, I don't think Crawford would come close to getting a fight with Canelo Alvarez if he would have beat Floyd. Because if he would have continued to fight the way he fight, I don't know if Floyd would have asked for a rematch or not. But I'm just saying he would continue to do what he did. I mean, who knows he would have fought Dmitry Bivol. But I know for a long time, Floyd Mayweather was the only loss on Canelo's boxing ledger. And if that would be in reverse, I mean, Canelo would not be wearing platform shoes. Canelo, all these fighters he fought in Mexico, no one would be talking about him. Because the only fight they would want to talk about is him beating Floyd Mayweather. They wouldn't want to know about no clenbuterol or anything like that. Yeah, Triple G name would have popped up here and there, but the only person, they was, he shut Floyd down. Floyd that he was going to get out of here, retirement, undefeated. Canelo shut him down. That's it. But that's not the case. Unfortunately, Canelo fans, that's not the case. That's just a dream. That's just a dream. That's just convo. That's just hindsight. That's just having a memory in hindsight that you can just marvel. Oh, you crack a couple of smiles here and there, but it's never going to change. He's not getting a rematch with Floyd. But at this point in time, elite status of his opposition, it's not that deep, y'all. I don't think he really goes past 3 to 5 on his resume. And we're talking about 67 pro fights. We're talking about the top tier elite. We can talk about Triple G and Erislandy Lara next. And even Erislandy Lara just a little shaky. He's a current reigning champion. He gets that sustainability stamp. Salute to everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to OG Golden on deck, Puma on deck. I see you. Shout out to the boxing queen Jessica in the building. Shout out to Rick in the building. Al Money in the building. Haynes Legacy in the building. God bless you, brother. Appreciate you pulling up. Y'all continue to keep your prayers open for Haynes, man, while he continue to fight through his health obstacles. Gamboa was elite when he fought Bud. undefeated, had the same record and KO that who propelled Bud into the pound for pound list. You know, when they talk about Gamboa and all that, it just gets a little wild because the only thing they remember is what they remember. And y'all know what that is. The only thing they remember is what they remember. And that's pretty much saying what? When he hurt Bud and Bud, wobbled a little bit. They love talking about that. But they really don't want to talk about anything else after that. They really don't want to talk about anything else after that. Shout out to Blue in the building. Blue Hustle on deck. It's crazy how some fighters talk about their opponent's resume and say that they haven't fought anybody. All they are saying is that the fighter they are fighting is not good. Build your opponent up. I tell you like this, it does get a bit technical, to be honest with you. It does when you're talking about our criteria that we base for argument. Our criteria will always be up for discussion. There will always be resistance. There will always be disagreements. But at the end of the day, them having that meeting on the rooftop and Canelo saying what he's saying, like I said before, I don't feel any type of way about it. It's just with Canelo having 67 bouts, only probably three good names on there that can be considered elite. You look at Gennady Golovkin. Yes, he was a couple of times unified champion, and he held the IBO champion, I believe, championship. But at the end of the day, when he fought Canelo in the trilogy, he was moving out of 160 for the first time. No one wanted to see that fight and then didn't need to see it. But he did not leave a check mark in the minds of boxing fans that he beat Gennady. People wasn't just wiping that clean and say, yeah, we for sure Canelo beat. They was unsure. So that has to play a factor into the conversational debate. As elite. Yes, Gennady, the Triple G is an elite fighter at the higher tier. No doubt about it. When you mention Canelo's name, Gennady is the first of recent that he was victorious, okay? But Floyd is not going to come up because he did not beat Floyd. We're not talking about participation. We're talking about who he defeated. Ricky Burns and Victor Posel, Crawford defeated him. Gamboa defeated him. They had the exact same record. But when Crawford went in there and defeated this man, he separated himself from him. And another wild part is, their critique and always try to suggest that Jeff Horn was never nobody. When clearly, you look at Jeff Horn's record, everybody else get credit for freaking Pacquiao, but Jeff Horn doesn't get credit for Pacquiao when it comes to a Crawford situation. When it comes to a Crawford conversation, rather, he doesn't get credit. Jeff Horn was undefeated, yo. They look at him just because him and Jorge Linares had something in common. At one point in time, all their losses were stoppages. What does that have to do with Crawford, though? Because when Crawford moved up to fight Jeff Horn in June of 2018, his first debut at welterweight division, Jeff Horn was undefeated. Undefeated with a Pacquiao. He beat Pacquiao July 2017. He had a Pacquiao on his record, bro. And they want to act like all of a sudden Pacquiao don't get no credit. Now all of a sudden they want to talk about how many losses Pacquiao had. Out of 59 wins, Pacquiao only had 6 losses when he fought Jeff Horn in Australia. And that was a championship fight. That was a WBO championship fight. So when Crawford moved up to fight Jeff Horn, the much bigger fighter, stronger fighter, once again, they were saying that Crawford was too small after coming off a definitive, clear victory, 3rd round stoppage, shot to the body of Julius Ndongo. Julius Ndongo was no joke. I don't know why people try to brush him off like nothing, but Crawford defeated him. I guess Crawford made him look like he was nobody. Once again, an undefeated fighter who was never the same after Crawford beat him. For him to move up to 147, fight Jeff Horn, and I'm like, not just any fight, but it was for a title. He goes in there and stops the man in the 9th round. Jeff Horn's not considered elite when he faced Pacquiao just because he's not a commercial star. They was bigging up Manny Pacquiao to step in there with Errol Spence. Were they not? I'll polish y'all. I got a phone call. But yeah, like I was saying, Terrence Crawford beating Jeff Horn with a Pacquiao, you have to consider him default elite. He did fight a Hall of Famer who's coming back to fight Mario Barrios, and people still hyping him up some fierce. I think they just look at the Australian part of it and they don't want to give him no credit. But you have to. Just like you're giving Kambosos credit before he fought Richardson Hitchens, before he fought Devin Haney, after he fought and beat Teofimo Lopez. Kambosos, the default elite, yes, because he was a unified champion. Did he have to work hard for that? Is that going to make some stomachs growl? Absolutely. But he had unified titles. You know what I'm saying? He had unified titles. What he did after that, yeah, it gets a little dark and fuzzy and grainy. But I can tell you like this, it's always going to be like that when it comes to the elite status tag in boxing. Default, yeah, championship, they should be deemed elite. But I would definitely emphasize that, in my opinion, there needs to be more than one level or more than one definition to describe what elite status is. Just like they say, so-and-so is a good boxer, so-and-so is a star, but he's not a superstar. They are a star, but they're not a superstar. And then when you go from superstar, you hear people say, so and so's good, but they're not great. That's pretty much how elite status is for me. You can be elite. You can, if the championship belt does not place you in elite, what the hell does? If you're going in there fighting for a vacant title and you win, you become world champion. That's an elite status that you achieve. Just because people want to look at belts, oh man, he didn't fight nobody. But they are a champion though. Ricky Burns was a multi-time champion, multi-division champion. Victor Posto at the time was undefeated, and he was in there getting it in. Just because Crawford beat him, all of a sudden he's nobody. Judas Ndongo coming there undefeated, unified champion. Crawford beat him. All of a sudden he goes on a losing streak. That's Crawford's fault. Now all of a sudden he's not elite. I mean, that's just wild to say, who. And like Canelo has this super deep freaking cachet of elite fighters on his resume. No. But let me get to this Timothy Bradley that BG dropped the link. What else? Let me not get ahead of myself. Hold on for a second. Okay, hold up. Norman versus Haney. I want to talk about that real quick. Norman versus Haney, man. People trying their best to place it in circulation like newspapers used to be. Extra, read all about it. They trying to put it in circulation. Okay. My impression of what the Normans are doing is saying we just came off removing a month full of memory. You know what I'm saying? Wherever that memory went, I don't know where it might have went to the cloud. That's where it went. You know what I'm saying? He freaking hit Jen Sasaki so bad his memory went into the cloud. Nobody knows where it's at. Anyway, the impression I'm getting from Norman and them is that they want a big fight. They want the big money fight. What I see with Haney is that I've seen this type of storm before, where Bill go on a freaking a world YouTube press tour to basically have a plethora of conversations with whoever they saying they're gonna fight. I haven't seen too many of these actually play out in the ring. For real. I haven't seen them play out when they were supposed to. Like, say for instance, when Ryan Garcia beat Luke Campbell, Devin hopped in the ring and he wanted to be next to fight Ryan Garcia. It didn't happen. It didn't happen until we seen it happen, because Ryan Garcia said, "No, you're my boy and everything, but I'm fighting Tank." Why? Because he felt he can make bigger money. Then at lightweight division, when Haney was a champion, it was some back and forth with him and Tio. Back and forth. Like I mentioned earlier on the live, I seen Gary Russell at one point in time when Haney was set to fight Gamboa. They was going back and forth forever and a day, like he was going to drop that November 7th date. He never had intentions of fighting Gary Russell Jr., but it was circulating over and over again as debates about, and people going around talking about, oh, Haney Russell. It never materialized. So I'm not sure. I'm not trying to group the Normans into this as if it's just all talk. I know they all about business right now, trying to make the fight happen, but I'm looking at it like, for Bill though, I'm unsure if they truly gonna make this fight happen. And people are busy double timing. They don't really know what to do with this. They really don't know because it's just been so much disappointment. Like Caleb Plant was signed to face Jamal Charlo ahead of time. That fell through. And shout out to Norman who mentioned this in the same sequence too. Is that they didn't sign the fight because why? What's the sense of urgency to sign the fight before we fight? We can sign the fight after if it makes sense to us. We just sign it after. But Jamal Charlo and Caleb Plant had a signing. It fell apart. Right? It fell apart. Then recently, you had Ryan Garcia and Haney. Signed the fight, boom, fell apart. And then, you had Hearns trying the same thing with Norman them. But in this particular case with Devin Haney, I'm just curious to know, can a deal be worked out? Can this be made into fruition based off the knockout that just happened with Jen Sasaki, based off Haney fighting at a catch weight, Norman being a true 147 pounder now? Is this fight going to materialize to actually hit a flyer from the promotion, say now we have Norman Jr. versus Haney? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure that I can commit to say this fight is going to happen. I would rather see Norman, fight a champion at 147, but we really don't know what's going to happen now that Boots has moved to 154. Supposedly, the announcement is out there, but the belts aren't vacant. It'll be good if he can start fighting for unifications. Because look, he made it perfectly clear that he was the king before Boots moved up to 154. So the fact that he can make some pretty good checks, unifying the division, that's what I want to see. I want to see the 147-pound division. I want to see some of the guys up there that probably wasn't going to get a title shot anytime soon. If Ennis stayed there, now they might have an opportunity. But when it comes to Devin fighting a catch weight against Jose Ramirez, is he going to finally move up to 47? Is this just going to be talk, or it's a higher percentage of happening than we think? That's just my only question mark. I don't know. Bill is certified in these YouTube streets to go out here and talk that talk with anybody when it comes to a fight, but not every conversation, not every second to the minute to the hour that he put on YouTube results in an actual contract being signed. That's my only thing. It just don't happen, with the T.O. situation. Why T.O. doesn't want to fight Haney, I don't know. But that fight has backstory all the way from 135 to 140. And then they was talking about potentially 147. Why isn't it happening? Now the latitude and longitude has changed courses. Now we're talking about Norman Jr. and Haney. Let's see what happens. Will I like to see that fight? Yeah. Do I want to see, the buzz that he's getting out here in Georgia for him to unify the 147-pound division? Would I like to see that first? Absolutely. Absolutely. Would I like to see Garcia and Haney run it back? Yeah, but Garcia's hurt. So let me put this thumbnail back up there. And we're going to take a little peek and listen to what Tim Bradley had to say. Tim Bradley has been vocal about, warning fighters. He has been vocal about making accusations about potentially fighters being on pads. A fighter, rather, singular. He's just been very controversial And I understand they may have gave him that Hall of Fame jacket that had a just a little smidget of freaking vibranium in the armpits. You know, every time he's been walking around with his arms out and everything and letting his mouth just run. And it's crazy, bro. You know, Timothy Bradley, he's just become a guy who's just saying anything. He don't care about nothing. He feels that the people that sign his checks have his back. And, you know, I think it was distasteful for him to go out here and say what he said about a fighter coming off a brutal knockout win, for him to say VADA should test it. This is a guy who's a Hall of Famer now. This is a guy who's a Hall of Famer talking this talk. Let's tune in. Hold on. Let me see. Where is it at? Okay, hold on for a second. That's wrong. Let's take a listen to Timothy Bradley's. A crawl thug mentality. A crawl thug mentality. This is Timothy Bradley's content, okay? We're just gonna listen to the audio.
You know, why you trying to degrade the competition, bro? That don't make no damn sense, man. How you gonna sit there and be like, whoa, he hasn't fought and beat an elite fighter? Bro, are you kidding me? Bruh. And the fans is definitely running with that, you know, especially your fans. That just don't make no damn sense, man. Since when did we start degrading the fighter that you facing? That's gonna depreciate the actual victory if you win. That's gonna depreciate it. You fought a guy that ain't fought nobody. Make that make sense. How does Crawford have all these accolades and all of a sudden he ain't fought nobody? Please explain that. Well, with the guy, you don't see the guys now, so they was nobody? All right, but they were somebody when he fought them. They were champions or past champions. Ricky Burns, Gamboa, all these guys, man. Victor Posto. You got, hey, man, go to 147. Beat the man that beat Manny Pacquiao. Jeff Horn. Come on, man. Y'all need to stop, man. Y'all need to stop. Went up to Madrimov, 154, went up and beat Madrimov. Beat Madrimov. Different weight class. So when Crawford come up there and beat on your head like he said he gonna do, he gonna beat on your head, Canelo, how that's gonna look? How that's gonna look? You got beat by nobody. You got beat by a guy that ain't got no elite names on his resume. Make that make sense.
I mean, hey, you know, like I said before, there's been a lot that I've been disagreeing with Tim. But, you know, him being a boxer and a commentator now, he should have some type of idol to say what he's saying right now. This is nothing that's elaborate. He's telling his opinionated truth. You know, it doesn't take much to put this out to the people. Yes, Canelo want to talk about no elite fighters on his resume, but yet you want people to believe that, you know, Crawford isn't established enough to be in the ring with you. He's established. He's the first. When you have the first tag on your accolades, that's special. The first. He's the first to become two-time undisputed. The first. Two-time undisputed, two different divisions. Canelo's two-time undisputed. That's why his fans feel comfortable enough to feel like, okay, now he's caught up. We was bragging about him becoming the super middleweight undisputed. Now we can brag and with some type of equality that he's been undisputed twice. No, I mean, really, this is another conversation. Do he really get credit for beating School? That's a whole nother conversation.
Never seen Floyd Mayweather put down his opponents like that, man. Especially not their resume. Damn, you ain't learned nothing. You ain't learned nothing, man. Gosh, dang it, man. I thought y'all took a Canelo. I thought you took a page out of Mayweather book. That's why you ain't fighting. You ain't fighting this guy or fighting that guy or fighting Benavidez. You choose what you want to. You've already paid your dues. Come on, bruh.
I mean, he's spitting some fire right now. You know, he said He's spitting fire so much that it might be enough for the fire department to come over here. He is right. I thought you learned something from fighting Floyd, but obviously you didn't learn anything because you're out here basically devaluing and jettisoning the fact of Bud Crawford's greatness. You know what I'm saying? You're putting your own modification in there. You don't need no modification. We need information that continues to increase the value of both of you fighters going in there in September. That's what we need.
No, that's not cool. And I see some of y'all saying, oh, well, Crawford didn't give Errol Spence credit because when Crawford beat Errol Spence, y'all didn't get him credit anyway. Y'all didn't get him credit anyway.
Okay, Tim must have bumped his head today, that BG. Tim must have bumped his head. I bet if you look on the back of his head, it must be a Band-Aid or gauze or something back there. He must have been stung by a wasp. I know what this is. They made him take that video down. So he want to come up here and put some, some very grand sentiments on the side of Crawford. This is damage control to me a little bit.
And I was the first one to say this, y'all wasn't gonna give him credit. I said, damn it, you go back and watch my Fight Hype video back in the past. I forget who it was with, but anyways, and I said it. The only problem that I have with this fight, with the fight against Errol Spence, after Crawford beat Sean Porter, right? I'm like, they not gonna give him credit. I wish it happened before the car accident. I wish it happened before this because he's not gonna get the credit. So y'all got Crawford mind all combobulated, Yeah, he not giving Spence credit because you guys didn't give him credit for the Spence win.
Ooh, straight like that. Straight like that. Ooh, wee. You talking about ice skating barefooted. Straight like that. Y'all didn't give him credit. So Canelo's not gonna give him credit too. I mean, he got some, man. If he ain't never said anything that was right, exactly the way it should be. Picture perfect. Verbally expressed to the highest. Integrity. Like I said before, I believe Tim, he can always come this correct, but this may be a recovery freaking live, man.
Y'all saying Spence was high. Spence had eye problems and all this and above. Damn, y'all confusing him. Y'all confusing Crawford. He just saying, and this is the reason why Crawford is going up to 168 pounds. No catch weight. None of that. No catch weight. No rehydration clause. Because Crawford a real one. He a real one. He don't want no excuses after he defeats Canelo Alvarez. Zero excuses from the fans. I don't want to hear Canelo was old and washed up. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear nothing when Crawford go up there and he handle his business on the 13th of September. I don't want to hear nothing from nobody. Give him his flowers once this gets accomplished. And that's the reason why he taking this fight. That's the reason why he want this fight. That's the reason why he want this challenge. It's because of everything y'all say about his resume, say about he ain't fought nobody. It's because of all of that. Everything that y'all saying. A lot of y'all saying, oh yeah, y'all gonna eat y'all words, man. I'm telling y'all. Y'all gonna eat y'all words. So I talked about Canelo superpower and Mexican, Mexican pride. That's a real thing. Yeah. Oh yeah. They feed off that energy from their Mexican fans. They feed off that energy. Yeah. But y'all don't know, y'all don't know about that remedy that I know, that superpower that people like myself have, Floyd Mayweather have. Yeah. Even Andre Ward, man, all the greats, they have it. They had that thug mentality. Street made. Yeah. Street made. Thug mentality. That's what it is. Yeah.
Thug mentality. Thug mentality. Let's see. How does it equate to this fight? Thug mentality. I mean, I guess you got to have some type of growl about you to be a boxer, period. But then again, you have some people say, well, you got to look at the ones that really came in here to make it a career and the ones just here to get a check. I feel like the ones who come to get a check, they still got to get up to make it to the ring. They still got to have some type of motivation. The levels might be a little bit dense and low, might be on fumes a little bit, but still you got to have something. Yeah. I mean, the thug. That thug mentality, yo. I mean, says Timothy Bradley, the thug mentality.
It's different. Disobedient. You gotta.
And to be honest with you, I don't. I only partially agree with what he's saying, because when he trying to compare the Mexican fans, and they have, at one point in time, the Mexican fighting style, they used to, I wouldn't say glorify, but they used to praise it high and heavy, because due to its stand your ground and fight, the infight in close quarters, battle forward, right? They used to praise it a lot. I mean, a lot, but I never heard thug come out when it was a Mexican style. I never heard thug mentality come out when Mexican style. What type of style is that there, Timothy? I want you to explain that, because when you say thug, it's almost like you got to throw that in there for black fighters. But when it's the Mexican style, they had the thug in that too. I never heard them mention thug, bro.
Teach me. You can whoop my behind. You have to show me, because you just can't say that. Crawford been doing this his entire life. His mama got him ready for this moment. Yeah. Fighting grown men when he was a kid. Beating on grown men. She used to pay people in the neighborhood to try to kick her by her son's behind.
Yeah. Timothy's doing a damage control freaking live. Since he dogged Brian Norman out so bad. Yeah, he's coming back and trying to get back in the good graces of the black people. Yeah, I smell this from a mile away. Goddamn it! It was foul from a distance, and it's foul up close. I'm just being honest.
Just to man him up. This ain't nothing new. Just because you big. Crawford seen big dude after big dude, grown men, and he beat their ass. Excuse me, ESPN, but I had to say that. I can say ass because it's a donkey. It's a donkey. So, his mama got him ready for this. Yeah, no doubt. Having a thug mentality is a kill or be killed. Kill or be killed mentality. That's what we operate on. When I used to go into a fight, I'm like, bro, you got to kill me to beat me, bro. You got to kill me. I'm willing to endure whatever it takes. Floyd Mayweather grew up in the hood. Raised in.
See, he's going off on a tangent about the hood, man. I don't know about that. I don't know what he's trying to prove or whatever, man. But shout out to Jamal Neezy with the 5 in the super chat. Much appreciated, man, being a supporter. One love to you, brother. They say, Bud, you're a great fighter and you have a great career. However, your resume ain't ish. In fact, your resume is so bad, I want 150 mil to fight you. Talk to him. Talk to him, Neezy. Talk to him. Your resume is so bad with no elite status fighters that you need $150 million to get your highest payday of Crawford. How does that work? For real. How do we believe that has any relevance to the price tag that he put in to fight a fighter like Crawford from a lower division? From a lower divisions, plural, for him to request 150 mil. Great point made. Great point made, man. Once again, much appreciated for the super chat, bro. Let's go ahead and let me get Timothy up out of here. Let me go ahead and let him finish before he pop a blood vessel, waiting for me to hit play again.
In the streets. Yeah, it's a mentality. That's Crawford's superpower for this. Canelo got that Mexican pride, and Crawford got that thug mentality. When I met Crawford, and I talked to people about him, because I was saying, yo, this ain't no regular fighter, man. This ain't no sparring partner. This a world champ. You know what they told me? They said, hey, Tim, he a thug. He ain't gonna be nothing, man. He can't leave the streets alone. He a thug. That's what they told me.
I believe that. That he's telling the truth. Crawford was a fighter back then. Everybody knows that. He was all about checking chins. You know what I'm saying? Outside that ring. We know that. So this, I definitely believe Tim, with no sarcasm.
I said, okay. Yeah. That makes all the sense in the world. Why every time when we was in sparring, I will step my game up. He'll step his game up. He will match my intensity. That's what sets him apart. That mentality, that winning mentality, being strategical. That's part of being a thug too, being in the streets. And look, let me tell y'all another thing. Crawford is here for a reason. Crawford's supposed to be dead. He's supposed to be 6 feet under right now. God spared him for this moment. God spared him for everything that he got going on right now.
I feel that this is February right now because temperature is going this hard, and the Crawford fight's not to September. It just seems like it comes at a perfect time for him to follow up after they made him take that video down. Now, I'm not, trying to say that he's being disingenuous about what he's saying, but the vigor for which he's speaking to the audience all of a sudden, the thug mentality and all that. I mean, I appreciate you giving Crawford all these accolades and these kind words. I do, Timmy. I do, bro. But I mean, come on, man. Like, you just released a video, saying that you send a warning to Crawford, don't get hit by Canelo. I mean, he shouldn't have to worry about it if he had that thug mentality, because when Canelo hit him with a good shot, you said it made you step your game up. And when you step your game up, Crawford stepped his game up. So if Canelo catch him with a good shot, just like he stepped his game up against Gamboa, just like he stepped his game up against Green Machine, just like he stepped his game up against Madrimov, well, you already know how that plays out, bro.
He spared him for this moment. 6 feet under. Remember, he was sitting in the car, chilling with some homies. Bullet come through the back window. Yeah, thank God the bullet slowed down, hit him in the back of the head. If it went all the way through, it would have been over for Crawford. But God spared him for this moment right here. Right? Spared him for this moment. Seriously. You can't mess with God's plan. You can't mess with his plan. I don't care how you look at it. I don't care what you up against. You cannot stop it. You can't. I'm telling you. You can't stop it. Yeah, go back to 2012. 2012. If my memory serves me right. Manny Pacquiao, Tim Bradley. You can't stop God's plan. It don't matter who you are or what you think. This is a part of his plan, man. All odds against Crawford. Yeah, all odds against him. So, Canelo, real quick, let me recap it.
I was about to say, him bringing religion into it. I said, no. I was about to submit a biblical injunction, a cease and desist. I said, no. Let's not bring freaking religion into it, because Timmy, if religion was a part of your thought process, you wouldn't be saying what you're saying with these fighters, bro. You wouldn't be so cold and trying to be so controversial lately. I mean, does religion have anything to do with your decision process of what you've been saying about these fighters, man? Come on, bro. Like, I understand. I do. I get it. Like they said in the chat, this man trying to maintain his job. I get it. But don't bring religion into it. And you just came off accusing Brian Norman of potentially having some stuff in his blood or whatever, and Bother need to test him out. What was God at when you was talking that talk, bro?
Man, don't put down the competition, bro, because you're taking away from your victory if you beat him. All right. 2, Max Kellerman himself said that Crawford, regardless of what Inoue has done, regardless of what Usyk has done, Crawford is the best pound-for-pound fighter on planet Earth right now, even without the resume y'all say he ain't got. Ooh, that's powerful. And y'all know Max knows boxing. Yeah. Oh, he's been watching boxing his whole life since he was a little boy. Historian in the game.
I feel like this live, though informative, though it is, harmony, you know what I'm saying, euphony to the ears, I just feel a little bit deceived. That's all. I just feel a bit of deception. You know what I'm saying? I do feel a bit of deception here. I just do, bro. I think I'm also carrying the Jahad Tucker situation with me too, Timmy. You was dogging the crap out this man. Where was religion then, bro? I mean, like, dang, you was dogging You was dogging 2 black fighters out. Seriously. One, did you say he probably gonna get fired? He can do nothing right in the ring, but yet all of a sudden you talking about Crawford and bringing up his history. He don't supposed to be here. What about the fighters that is here? What about the ones that is here competing in the very same sport for which you now wear a jacket at the highest level of recognition, the Hall of Fame, International Boxing Hall of Fame? And you talking about religion when you speaking about this thug mentality, but you're not speaking of how you was about to say something, then you stop and say, you know what? I was about to say something ill about Jahad, but I changed my mind. I was about to say something ill about Norman, but I changed my mind because God spoke to me. He touched my heart. You know, I mean, I don't buy this. I don't buy it at all. Even though you're talking, you're bigging up Crawford and everything. We really don't need you to big him up. We already know the history with y'all. You know what I'm saying? You just dog. You've been on a somewhat of a semi rampage lately, bro.
Yeah, he see it and he knows it. So y'all can miss me with that, man. Canelo, stop putting down Crawford. You're a fool for putting him down. You're supposed to build him up. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to build him up. Crawford ain't bitch disrespect your resume. We can tear down your resume too.
Speaking of building up, man, doesn't that sound like a bunch of malarkey? I mean, good Lord, build him up. I mean, are you compliant with your own words, sir?
Ain't sitting up and saying that you fought a whole bunch of washed up guys. Washed up legends. That's what you did. So, but we ain't finna sit there and say that. Not right now. Hell no. No. You the man at 168. You the king. That's what they say. You the king at 168. Guess who coming to see you? Guess who gonna pay you a visit? Terrence Crawford. Yeah. That thug mentality that he got, with the brilliance to go along with that, because when you're in the streets, you got to be a great strategist. You got to be a great decision maker out there, man. Things are moving quick. You got people trying to deceive you. You're looking at everybody funny. Yeah, that's right. Crawford got all of that. He bringing all of that into the ring. That knowledge from when he's a little boy. Growing up, saying to guys, oh, this guy can beat you. That guy can beat you. Mama, putting money on Crawford's head for guys that try to take him out. Y'all see how competitive he is, bruh. Hey, if I was part of this promotion, you know what I would do? Hey, shit, I have Canelo and Crawford play one-on-one basketball. I'll have them bowl. I'll have them shoot darts. I'll have them do all kind of different activities, and you will see who's the most competitive person out there, bruh. Who's the most athletic person out there, bruh? And it's Terrence Crawford. He'll beat Canelo in everything, even horse riding. I know you got a stable, Canelo, of horses, and I know you into it. He even beat you in that. Oh yeah, he'll make the horse crip walk. He'll make that horse dance. Shit, he'll make that horse twerk. Yeah, yeah. Telling you, ain't nothing this dude can't do, man. Well-rounded all the way across the board. The most competitive person that I've ever met. I'm not saying this because he's my friend. I'm saying this because this is real. This is real. I'm telling y'all. He willing to die for this. Canelo, are you? Ask yourself that question. He willing to die for this. And y'all gonna see. Y'all gonna see on the 13th. I'm not woofing. Y'all gonna see it. I'm telling you. Peace.
Yo, I mean, I look at it like this, y'all. I look at it like this with Timmy. It seems like a damage control type deal. Even though he says some very sharp, you know, check marks, things that made sense, very sharp, hit the mark. You know, real talk. I just feel like, where's this coming from? Why was it needed now? The fight's not the September. Well, I look at it like this, Tim. You know, if you're gonna talk about religion, cool, but he made some valid points up in there too. And one valid summation that he made was that when it comes down to Canelo talking about Crawford and saying that where's the elite fighter, you have to understand you requested 150 million. Why didn't you just tell Turkey that to give y'all 50-50? Why are you getting 150? He's getting 50 million. You getting 150 million, he gets 50 million. Why couldn't y'all level it out equally? And then in the rematch, then y'all talk about, you know, the pay disparity. But you didn't do that. You request 150 million to fight a fighter that you claim don't have any elite fighters on his resume. And the one elite fighter that he mentioned, well, you know, one of them, you said you seen him get beat down by somebody. Well, there's plenty of opponents that's on your resume that we've seen get beat down by other people. Like I said before, people can ooh and ah about your James Kirkland knockout. People can ooh and ah about your Amir Khan knockout. But come on, but you didn't knock out Triple G. You didn't knock out Triple G, though. Did you knock out Erislandy Laura? I mean, the big names is out there on your resume. Did you knock them out? Yeah, Timmy did say, yeah, we can break down your resume. Yes, but people, you know, only the real ones will break down Canelo's resume. But you have so many Canelo, you know, agitators out here. They just want to talk about what Canelo has done. They want to say, oh, pay attention. They say he's the best Mexican boxer out there. I'm like, I just heard somebody else start to run with the narrative that he's the best Mexican fighter ever. And look, you're talking about, once again, him having losses, and we have to go to the competition. I just don't think he's the best Mexican boxer ever. I just don't see that right now. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. You know, shout out to Timmy, you know, for going on here and doing damage control, for pretty much saying that the father need to go over there and freaking check on Norman and see, because those last three performances, he was like, I don't know about that now. There's something shady going on. He up there knocking fighters out like that, huh? Where'd that come from? Somebody need to check. See, you know, they made him take the video down. Now all of a sudden he go ahead and going hard for Crawford, like, and bringing religion into it. But I believe you should have used that before. Like, you should have thought about that when you was dogging out Jahad Tucker and basically saying he was about to get let go from Top Rank and act like he couldn't box. All of a sudden, nothing he was doing was right. Nothing he was doing was right. And I listened to you. I was as close as I can get. I'm hearing the criticism that you're spewing out. That's like vicious. You know what I'm saying? You vicious. He had a point right now, but it does seem like, you know, he could have played, you know, hey, that wasn't Omar that was in Simmons, that was Timothy, bro. When he came back up there, he said, hey, why don't you just let me in now? It's like, why we gotta let you in? You've been going in and out all day. Why all of a sudden we gotta let you in? No, I'm just saying, you know, where you been all this time anyway, Omar? Oh, I was over there talking to Timmy, and then all of a sudden he bit me on my neck. And now I'm Timmy. Hey, y'all want an autograph? Y'all never seen no Hall of Famer vampire? You know, I mean, come on, man. I can go on and on with this, man, but I don't get the genuine part of it. I just don't, man. And you can feel the way you do. You can have whatever reservations you have, Bradley, but the way you was dogging out these black fighters, man, and then you want to come in here and come to Crawford's defense. I'm just not buying it at all. I'm not buying it with yen. I'm not buying it with pesos. I'm not buying it with any money that I might have found under my seat. Any change that I drop between my seats, I'm not buying it with monopoly money, bro. I'm not buying it with credit. I'm not trying to present a Groupon with it. None of that. Because we have heard everything that you said about Crawford, we heard before. But it's just the moment and the window that you selected to all of a sudden go on this Crawford tangent and talk about what we already know about him. You didn't tell us anything that we didn't know. I mean, just because Canelo said something about no elite fighters, we know you met him back in the day and he was in there touching you up in sparring, and you say, "No, this ain't no sparring partner." And they say, "Yo, he a thug though," and all this. Well, what does a thug have to come into it? It's just crazy, bro. It's crazy, man. It's crazy what them jackets do to you today. They gave Timmy that special jacket, boy. Adams goddamn superpowers in that freaking jacket. Real. Shout out to Swat Jones on deck, man. What it do? Crawford getting 100 million for what I know. Crawford confirmed on Club Shay Shay. Well, hey, I thought so too there, Haynes. Until this other thing, Crawford on, I could have sworn I heard somebody say, Crawford say he was getting 50 million, or somebody, I thought he was getting 100 million too. But you know how it goes, Haynes, right? By the time August roll around here, they're gonna be saying Crawford gonna be getting 8.2 million. You know what I'm saying? That's before taxes. You know what I'm saying? And look, I remember hearing it too. Okay, he getting 100 million, but now all of a sudden it's down to 50 million. And then as weeks pass by, it's gonna be down to the 8.2 million before taxes, and he has to pay a fine for this right here. And I mean, I can't imagine what it's gonna be like in August, man. For real, the man gonna be carrying. They gonna say, hey, he was taking home a little over 2.5. Crawford taking home a little bit over 2.5, so he ain't really making out on this fight. It's all Canelo. And you know what? Canelo earned it. And then they talking about Canelo, he taking a higher percentage at the gate. And then, man, get out of here, bro. Get out of here. I don't want to hear it, man. I hear too much of this money talk. Yeah. Real talk. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad the conversation is getting out there and the people talking about this fight, but you still have too much non-boxing pertaining criticism that's going on. Like, I don't like hearing, cats talking about fighters are trash and they shouldn't be getting paid this amount. And they should fight for the titles. Titles, when you take it to the pawn shop, regardless of who had the title, unless it was an alien, and then it fell from the freaking spaceship, and unless you got something with some moon dust on it, you're not going to get that much money for it. So what will make sense is that when you look in your account and you find out that you have money there, you have investments that you made and stuff like that. Money is what continues to stretch the furthest, not belts. People have to stop saying these fighters need. It's good to fight for belts and get the paycheck, but stop shadowing the fighters' glory and their prestige that they should be getting, the praise that they should be getting from us when it comes down to saying they ain't fought nobody. They ain't fighting this person, so I ain't messing with them. and they ain't doing this, they ain't doing that. Hey man, come on, bro. Anyway, let me stroll through this. I don't know if y'all heard about this. I really didn't want to bring it up myself, but Jose Benavidez has been hit with a 9-month suspension after a positive drug test. Yeah, that's the older brother of David Benavidez. He's been hit with 9 months suspension. You want to know what it's for? The presence of cocaine metabolite. You understand? The infraction resulted in the fight outcome changed to a no contest, and Benavidez dealt a backdated 9-month suspension along with $3,750 fine. So he is tested positive for the cocoa. And man, I just hope David doesn't come up here and test any of that. I hope not, bro. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's suspended, backdated, retroactive back to 9 months or whatever. Unfortunately, bro. Unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Come on, Jose. Damn. I was going to basically, I would save it for another live, but I'm not even going to talk about it right now. I'm definitely going to save it for another live. Boxing Scene has an article that said, win or lose, September 13th might be Terrence Crawford last fight. It said it can be easy to forget that Terrence Crawford will turn 38 years old in September. Until his last fight, a relatively uneventful unanimous decision win over Israel Madrimov last August, Crawford was in the form of his life. Prior to the move to 154 to fight Madrimov, Crawford fought 8 times at welterweight and recorded 8 wins and 8 often violent stoppages. He had been an elite fighter for more than a decade. He has been an elite fighter, more than a decade, and a fixture in the top 2 or 3 spots on the pound-for-pound list for nearly as long. Though Crawford is nearly 3 years older than his audacious choice of September opponent Canelo Alvarez, the latter declined in the past, and in relation to the matchup has been discussed far more often. So it's going to be a trolley, y'all. It's going to be a trolley. They're going to be wheelbarrows. I mean, they're going to be so many narratives being pushed around the YTC. So many. In the next couple of months. Just stand by. July, August is going to get bad. June is drawing to a close. But when it comes to July and August, the closer you get to the fight, they're going to start, just continue to push these narratives. And, you hear people talking about Crawford being on snack, how it's going to do this, that, and the other. And then, I'm glad they're getting the presser out the way, because now they're going to lock in for the fight camp, and we won't have to worry about seeing them, on stage again to fight week. I'm glad they're getting it out the way. I've liked the whole entire format. I like that they're bringing in other superstars from different sports to talk this boxing talk with the fighters. Yeah. But word of advice, Shaq, and everybody else. Shaq Diesel, I would just say it's purposelessly to ask a fighter what their game plan is. What do they plan on doing? This, that, and the other. I mean, it's pointless to ask that, because Canelo nor Crawford is going to tell you what the game plan is to defeat the other fighter. So you're like, how do you see this ending? How do you see it ending? You see it ending by having your hand raised. Okay. And then look, Crawford told him, I see it having my hands raised. I see the conclusion, right? But Shaq turned around. How do you see the fight ending? And don't tell me with your hand raised. What do you want me to say? What's with this infatuations with KO? Like, if a fighter say he gonna knock somebody out, does that get you more enthusiastic to go spend the money to see it? I mean, does it really turn you up a little bit? Don't say with your hand raised. I mean, if he want to get on TV and say I'm gonna knock Canelo out, and Canelo's never been stopped, and I'm not sure there's any film out there. I don't think there's any film out there where Canelo is getting off the canvas. You know, I don't see it. But so why should Crawford go out here and say he gonna knock Canelo out? It makes no sense, man. I'm just a word of advice that Big Shaq Diesel. You know what I'm saying? Asking these fighters how the fight gonna end, and you want them to say knockout. Canelo is, Crawford. No, neither of these fighters has lost a fight via stoppage. Crawford has told the people love to hear, oh man, they want to talk about Green Machine landing the punch that hurt him and Gamboa. But guess what? He's undefeated. Period. However you want to look at it. Shout out to the hottest chat in the MF and game, man. Appreciate y'all. We should do it again tomorrow. Continue to support the channel and hit the like button on your way out. It's much appreciated. And once again, if y'all see me sending a link for you all to join me on X, I would appreciate the hottest chat in the MF and game, to come on X and talk some boxing sometime. You get a mic and talk some boxing. I do see Blue over there often, Haynes over there. Yeah, I do see some faces over there. But yeah. Until next time, man, I'm out. Peace.